Hello my artsy friends, this is Florence, welcome to this video. So in today's video I'm going to give you a little trick that I use when I want to decide on my colors but I don't really know which one I want to use for my painting. Or if you just like some inspiration and you want to get started, you could just choose the colors and then let the colors inspire you. So you're going to see that this is a very simple trick that you can use. It will cost you almost nothing. And I think this is quite handy to have that with you. So of course what I'm going to demonstrate today works with watercolor because this is what I do. But I can imagine that you could do exactly the same with gouache or maybe with other mediums like colored pencils. So let's get into it. The idea you're going to see is really simple. In fact, I just swatched my colors on paper and made little pebbles, and then I cut around my pebbles and labeled them at the back, just to make sure I can remember which color I have used when I have colors that seem a bit similar. And then it is very simple. You just need to place them physically together and see if you like the match or not. It's a bit like the Tinder of colors of your palette. So of course you may have a swatch like this on a page where all your colors are together, but you can't necessarily check how your perylene green is going to look next to another color of the palette. It's not as easy. But here, because they were cut out, you can check immediately if something is working. So let's say I want to try to use my perylene green with this French ultramarine. I don't think it's going to look really nice because this one is too bright next to this one. Okay, so no thanks. Then let's say I want to try with Pyrrole Scarlet. This time it is very bright too, but it gives me a bit of a Christmassy vibe. So that's not necessarily what I would want to paint because we're not Christmas all the time. But why not? Okay, why not? Now we've got this phthalo blue with perylene green. Not my thing. We've got cobalt blue next to perylene green, and this is already much better than this phthalo blue because this one is a bit more subdued than this one, so I like it better. And this is a mix I quite often use when I paint water, so I know that it works. Here we've got indanthrone blue, and if I wanted to go for a darker value of blue, I think that indanthrone blue looks much better than let's say French ultramarine, again because this is a tone that is more subdued than this one, and I think that subdued tones work much better with perylene green than very bright colors. So yes, you go in this pile and you can continue this way with all your colors and check how they look together. I'm not very fond of this green mix of phthalo green next to perylene green, but I kind of really enjoy this mix of perylene green with Aquarius green. Okay, so you're going to do that with all the colors, and you can see if you like things together. Okay, so here this is with indigo, yes. Quinacridone violet. This is where the labels can come handy. With cobalt teal, I'm not mad about it. Yellow ochre. Perylene violet. Of course, they belong to the same family. They're both perylene colors, so they should look nice together. But yeah, it's a very beautiful combination. Buff titanium looks nice next to it. And then we've got burnt sienna. Nice. We've got the neutral tint. And burnt umber. Okay, so basically here are all my colors that go nicely with this little perylene green. And these the one I set aside and I decided I would not use with it. So now, let's say I want to create a limited palette of 3 or 4 colors, something like that. I'm going to pick another color randomly. Okay, hello. And this is Perylene Violet, one of my favorite mixes with Perylene Green. I think they look beautiful together. So I'm going to zoom in so that you can see the combinations I'm making. So I'm going to place them together, a bit like a flower shape like that. And I'm going to add a third color in the mix and see how much I like it. So why not? This is really nice. I don't like it as much as burnt umber. I prefer burnt umber, so I'm going to set this one aside. Then we've got this buff titanium. It's quite interesting, I think, to add some buff titanium in the mix because it brings some different kinds of values. Perylene green and perylene violet are both quite dark colors, so here it is nice to have something much lighter, I think. I find it kind of interesting with yellow ochre, but I think I prefer burnt umber in this mix. Cobalt teal, I'm not sure about it this time. Here we've got Perylene, not Perylene, quinacridone violet. I'm not mad about it, but I'm not even really sure that this is really what I want. Then we've got indigo. Okay, maybe. Here we've got quinacridone pink. I think it looks a bit too bright next to those two colors, so I'm going to remove that one from my selection. This could be very nice because we have two greens that are very nice together, but they are quite different. This one can bring you warmer tones, but they're still quite nice together. So you can imagine nice florals and foliage using those colors together, for example. Yes, but no. No. And no, this time you see this Pyrrole Scarlet that could have been nice next to Perylene Green for a Christmassy composition looks too bright next to this Perylene Violet. They don't match really well together. So here are our last candidates, and you can just place them around like that and choose what you want to keep. Okay, so maybe I'm going to keep those. I'm going to keep that, and yeah, maybe if you want like 5 colors, you could do something like that, or let's say 4 colors. Maybe I'll keep that one or that one maybe. Okay, you can choose and remove things and just check what you prefer. But here you created a nice little limited palette and it was very easy. So I really recommend using this trick, and to show you what I've done, I have experimented with that. And this is a sketchbook where I stick or glue my experiments in. Because this is an expensive sketchbook, it is not meant for watercolor, but sometimes I try a few things in there. So when I bought some new watercolors in May, I bought buff titanium, perylene violet, and cobalt teal, and I wanted to try those new paints that I just received. And so I did my little swatches, and when I placed them together, I was, ooh, this is a beautiful mix. I want to try them together. And then I was, oh, I need to add another color. So I tried, and I eventually went for yellow ochre. And this is what it looked like in the end. I decided to go for loose florals. And I really like this piece. I did it on a sheet of paper that was partly used, so I cut it and tried to use the rest of the page to do that. And I really really love the mixes and the fusions I could obtain by mixing those colors together. So that was a really nice thing to do. And then I tried again to select some kind of limited palette, and I chose to try to mix my neutral tones together. So I chose to use yellow ochre, burnt sienna, burnt umber, indigo, cobalt blue, and French ultramarine, and I just painted the view across my window. It's a tree that is in my garden, and I love the way it turned out. I found that this mix was really interesting. So of course it is a bit moody, but I really like the way it turned out. So same here, I did that on a page of paper from a little block, and I decided to glue that in here to remember how much I enjoyed trying this new limited palette. And then I thought, okay, this is nice to paint florals and things outside. Could it work on skin tones and a hair color? So I decided to paint little faces to try this palette in a different type of painting, and I think it works very well too. So it was fun. It gave me ideas to experiment with. And if you are looking for inspiration, I think this is a very clever, and yeah, it is a very clever trick, and you should definitely try it. And it will cost you nothing except a piece of paper where to swatch your colors. And then it is even a tool that you can easily carry with you when you're painting. You just need to find a little pouch or bag or something to keep them together. So that was my little trick. I hope you enjoyed this idea, and see you soon. Bye!